The galaxy was no longer the peaceful place it once had been. Worlds that had lived in harmony for centuries were now caught in a constant cycle of war. Star systems burned, fleets clashed, and entire civilizations feared the future. The aliens, powerful and intelligent, were consumed by old grudges, competition for resources, and pride. Among all this chaos, humans were considered outsiders. Their presence was mostly ignored, their strength underestimated, and their diplomacy dismissed as naive. Yet humans had something no other species seemed to understand: the ability to hope and the courage to act even when the odds were against them. Commander Leora Dane, a human of sharp mind and calm presence, had been sent to one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy, Vera Prime. It was a planet scarred by constant battles, its skies filled with streaks of burning debris from destroyed ships. On the ground, cities were in ruins, and the few remaining citizens moved in fear. Leora looked out from the bridge of her ship as it hovered above the planet's surface. She could see alien fleets circling like predators, waiting for the right moment to strike. But she did not see hopelessness in the destruction. She saw opportunity. Unlike other humans who might have panicked or withdrawn, Leora had a plan. It was a dangerous plan, one that required entering enemy territory without weapons, without backup, relying only on words and understanding. Many people had told her she was foolish. Many believed that violence was the only language the aliens understood. Leora disagreed. She believed that even in a galaxy ruled by power and fear, reasoning and compassion could make a difference. Her first step was to observe. From hidden vantage points, she studied the alien leaders, noting their behaviors, listening to their conversations, and understanding what drove them. Each species had its own culture, its own ideas of honor, and its own fears. By understanding these, Leora began to see patterns. She realized that most conflicts were not caused by cruelty, but by misunderstanding. Small incidents had escalated over centuries, creating cycles of revenge that no one seemed willing to break. After days of careful observation, she made her move. Traveling to the front lines under a flag of neutrality, Leora requested meetings with the commanders of two major warring factions. The aliens stared at her in disbelief. A single human, unarmed and unthreatening, wanted to speak with them? It was unheard of. Yet there was something in her calm demeanor, in the confidence she carried without arrogance, that made them curious. The meetings began with tension. Aliens from both sides sat rigidly, their eyes narrow and claws clenched. Leora spoke slowly, choosing each word carefully. She did not speak of victories or threats. She spoke of the future, of the cost of endless war, and of the possibility of something different. At first, the alien leaders scoffed. How could one human change centuries of conflict? But as she explained her ideas using examples from human history, stories of conflicts resolved through dialogue and compromise, they began to listen. She proposed something radical: a temporary settlement on Vera Prime where humans and alien diplomats could live and work together. No weapons, no attacks, just cooperation. They would share resources, solve disputes together, and learn to trust each other. The idea was so unusual that the leaders hesitated. It seemed impossible. Yet the promise of a small experiment intrigued them. They agreed, not because they fully trusted the human, but because curiosity and hope had begun to replace fear, even slightly. As the settlement was established, Leora moved among the aliens with patience and care. She noticed the smallest gestures: an alien hesitating to eat food from another species, a whisper of mistrust in the night. She explained, demonstrated, and mediated. Humans joined in the effort, teaching games, sharing stories, and helping repair damaged structures. Slowly, laughter began to replace suspicion. Slowly, trust began to grow. Leora knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy outside the settlement remained dangerous, and any misstep could lead to disaster. Yet she believed in the potential of cooperation. If humans could succeed here, in the heart of enemy territory, maybe peace could spread further. She worked tirelessly, not as a commander issuing orders, but as a guide helping others see that violence was not the only path. One evening, as the twin suns of Vera Prime set in a sky streaked with the colors of battle, Leora stood on a balcony of the settlement. Below, aliens and humans moved together, building, talking, and learning from each other. It was a small scene of harmony in a galaxy filled with chaos, but it was enough to spark hope. For the first time, humans were not outsiders. For the first time, they were the bridge between worlds, and Leora knew that if this fragile hope could survive, the galaxy might have a future worth fighting for. Not with weapons, but with understanding. The settlement on Vera Prime slowly took shape. Buildings rose from the scarred land, a mix of human design and alien engineering. Humans moved alongside the aliens, sharing knowledge, tools, and ideas. At first, the aliens watched every human action with suspicion. Any misstep could have reignited old hostilities. But Leora continued to guide them, patiently explaining, mediating, and demonstrating that humans were not there to take sides. They were there to build understanding. Life in the settlement was far from easy. The aliens came from very different cultures, each with their own rules, rituals, and expectations. Some argued constantly, frustrated that their traditions were being challenged. Humans, however, found ways to connect. They asked questions, listened carefully, and learned the nuances of alien etiquette. Small gestures, a polite bow, the sharing of food, a hand offered in greeting started to dissolve tension. Leora watched these moments closely. She knew that trust could not be commanded. It had to be earned. One day, a crisis occurred that could have destroyed the fragile harmony. A group of young aliens, curious and reckless, ventured into the human quarters and accidentally damaged an important human artifact. Outrage spread. The human engineers demanded explanations, while the alien parents prepared to defend their children with threats. Leora intervened, speaking calmly to both sides. She suggested a shared effort to repair the artifact, turning the mistake into an opportunity for collaboration. Slowly, hands of different shapes and sizes worked together, learning from one another, and by evening the artifact was restored. Laughter and shared pride replaced anger. The settlement's bond grew stronger. Meanwhile, rumors of the human-led settlement began to spread across the galaxy. Some alien leaders mocked the idea, claiming humans were naive and powerless. Others watched with cautious interest. The concept that a single species could mediate peace in the heart of warring civilizations was unheard of. For many, it was impossible to imagine. Yet the settlement continued to thrive, proving that humans' approach, curiosity, empathy, and courage could achieve what brute strength could not. Leora herself spent hours studying the alien cultures. She discovered that many conflicts stemmed from misunderstandings. A gesture that seemed threatening to one species might be neutral or friendly to another. By clarifying these differences and teaching them to all residents, she prevented small incidents from escalating into deadly confrontations. Slowly, humans became mediators, not just observers. Their actions reminded the aliens that cooperation was possible and that peace required effort from everyone. One evening, while walking through the settlement, Leora noticed a group of alien children playing a hybrid game they had created together, a mix of human and alien rules. She smiled, realizing that the next generation was already learning the value of collaboration. If these children grew up without the deep-seated hatred their elders had known, perhaps the galaxy would have a brighter future. This thought strengthened her resolve. Despite the progress, tension was never far away. Outside the settlement, skirmishes continued. Fleets maneuvered for advantage, and political intrigues threatened to unravel the fragile trust inside. Leora spent nights drafting plans, not for war but for communication, for conflict resolution, and for strategies that could prevent bloodshed. She worked with alien leaders, earning their respect through patience and consistency. Slowly, they began to see humans not as outsiders, but as partners in creating a better future. Then came the first real test. A supply convoy from the settlement was attacked by raiders from a neighboring star system. The aliens argued for retaliation, insisting that failure to respond would be seen as weakness. Humans, led by Leora, suggested a different approach, a coordinated effort to negotiate with the raiders while ensuring the safety of the convoy. Skepticism filled the room. Could humans really convince armed raiders to stand down? Could diplomacy succeed where weapons might fail? Leora did not hesitate. She gathered a team of humans and alien negotiators, including representatives from the settlement's rival factions. They approached the raiders cautiously, using a combination of clear communication, demonstrations of strength without aggression, and empathy to understand the raiders' motivations. Slowly, the hostile group listened. Tensions eased, and by nightfall, the convoy was allowed to continue safely. The raiders even agreed to send a small contingent to observe the settlement and learn from its methods. News of this success spread quickly. Inside the settlement, there was cautious celebration. The alien leaders who had doubted humans began to respect their abilities. Even those who remained skeptical could not ignore the results. One by one, they admitted that humans brought something unique to the galaxy: creativity in thought, courage in action, and an unwavering belief that peace was possible. Leora stood once again on the balcony overlooking the settlement. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the buildings. The streets buzzed with activity, aliens and humans working side by side, sharing stories, laughing, and learning. It was a fragile peace, yes, but it was real, and for the first time, Leora truly believed that humans could make a difference not only on Vera Prime but across the galaxy. They were outsiders, yes, but they were becoming bridges between worlds, and bridges, once built, could not be easily destroyed. The fragile peace of the settlement was about to face its first true test. Rumors arrived from the edge of the sector. A fleet from the Xylarian cluster, known for their aggression and skill in battle, was moving toward a nearby outpost. The outpost was poorly defended, and if it fell, the fragile trust that Leora had built between the alien factions could collapse. Panic spread through the settlement, and debates flared among the leaders. Some demanded immediate retaliation, calling for weapons to be prepared and fleets to launch attacks. Others feared that any action could provoke a larger war. Leora listened quietly, observing the fear and uncertainty in the room. Then she spoke. "Fighting will bring blood and revenge. We have a chance to show that cooperation can save lives instead of taking them. If we work together, humans and aliens, we can prevent disaster without becoming what we fear most: destroyers." Her words were calm but firm, and they carried the weight of her experience and conviction. The alien leaders hesitated. It was unprecedented, a human suggesting a non-violent solution in the face of imminent attack. Yet Leora had earned their trust. Slowly, they agreed to try her plan. Humans and aliens would coordinate not as armies but as rescuers. The mission required precise timing, clever strategy, and most importantly, complete collaboration between species that had never worked together before. The plan began at dawn. Leora led a small team of human pilots, engineers, and negotiators, alongside alien strategists and warriors. The convoy moved quietly, approaching the outpost from multiple directions to confuse the raiders. Humans managed the communications and navigation, while aliens provided shields, weapons only as deterrents, and cultural insight into predicting the raiders' behavior. Every decision required careful discussion. There was no room for unilateral action. As the teams neared the outpost, the raiders appeared. They were heavily armed, moving in formations that had terrified defenders in the past. For a moment, the humans and aliens froze, uncertainty flashing in their eyes. Then Leora's voice rang through the comms. "Remember, we are not here to fight. Observe, adapt, and protect. Trust each other." The words reminded them of their shared purpose. The mission unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. Human pilots guided alien ships to positions that blocked potential attack paths. Engineers worked alongside alien technicians to reinforce the outpost's defenses quickly. Negotiators, humans and aliens together, approached the raiders, offering a peaceful solution while demonstrating that resistance would be useless without bloodshed. The raiders hesitated, surprised by the unity of species they had long seen as enemies. Tension mounted as a small skirmish erupted when one raider vessel ignored the negotiators. Leora acted immediately, using a combination of human piloting skills and alien defensive measures to neutralize the threat without destroying the ship. The raiders watched, realizing that these humans and aliens were coordinated, smart, and willing to act decisively, but not with cruelty. Slowly, the remaining raider ships began to respond to the negotiators' calls. By midday, the outpost was safe, and the raiders had withdrawn, agreeing to return later for talks. Back at the settlement, the mood was electric. Alien leaders who had doubted humans openly praised Leora and her team. They marveled at how a single human had inspired not just a plan, but cooperation that had saved lives. Even skeptics admitted that the humans' unconventional methods had worked in ways brute strength never could. For the first time, some began to wonder whether peace could spread beyond the settlement. Leora, however, knew better than to celebrate too early. The victory was small and the galaxy remained dangerous. But the result proved something crucial. Collaboration, patience, and trust could achieve what weapons alone could not. The aliens had begun to see humans as more than outsiders. They were problem solvers, innovators, and mediators. That evening, Leora walked through the settlement, observing the aliens sharing meals, repairing ships, and even exchanging stories. She noticed small gestures of respect that had not existed before: a bow of acknowledgement, a shared laugh, a hand offered to help carry supplies. It was a subtle victory, but one that would ripple across generations if nurtured. As she looked toward the twin suns of Vera Prime, setting against a sky streaked with the trails of distant fleets, Leora realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, but one human, and the willingness to trust and collaborate, had proven that even in the heart of war, hope could exist. The first test of unity had succeeded, and with it came the quiet understanding that humans could be catalysts for something greater. They were no longer mere observers or minor players. In a universe ruled by power and fear, humans were starting to show what courage, intelligence, and empathy could achieve. The settlement had survived. The outpost had been saved, and most importantly, the alien factions had begun to learn that peace was possible when humans led with heart and vision. The fragile harmony of the settlement had endured, but the arrival of the alien king would test it in ways no one could have imagined. Word spread quickly across Vera Prime. The ruler of the Varathian Empire, a towering figure feared across galaxies for his unmatched power and strict rule, was coming. Aliens whispered in awe and fear, while humans looked on with cautious curiosity. No one had ever met the king in person, and few had lived to describe the experience. Leora received the news in the early morning. She studied the report carefully. The king's visit was not officially hostile, yet it carried weight beyond measure. Every gesture, every word would be scrutinized. One misstep could undo weeks of progress. But she did not waver. If humans could survive the chaos of the galaxy and mediate between rival alien factions, surely they could face one king with wisdom and courage. The day of his arrival, the settlement prepared meticulously. Streets were cleaned, signals coordinated, and every detail was planned. Yet Leora knew that preparation alone would not be enough. The king's reputation was not built on appearances. It was built on power, perception, and understanding of strength. She reminded herself that her approach had always been different. Humans acted not only with intellect but with heart. When the alien king finally descended from his colossal starship, the settlement fell silent. He was larger than any being Leora had seen, with shimmering armor that reflected the twin suns of Vera Prime. His eyes scanned the crowd, piercing, calculating. For a moment, the bravest among the aliens and humans alike froze, unsure of what to do. Then Leora stepped forward. She did not bow, nor did she shrink back. She met his gaze with calm confidence. The king's voice rumbled across the plaza. "You are the human who dares to mediate among my enemies," he said. His tone was neither welcoming nor cruel, merely curious. "Explain why I should not consider your actions foolish and irrelevant." Leora spoke clearly, her voice steady. "I am not here to seek favor or to claim power. I am here because the cycle of war is costing lives across the galaxy. Humans have a different way of seeing problems. We believe that understanding cooperation and courage can prevent conflict and save countless lives. What we do may seem small, but it is meaningful." The king's eyes narrowed, studying her. Silence fell for several tense moments. Then he spoke again, this time softer, almost intrigued. "Your species is known for unpredictability," he said. "Some say humans act without logic, yet survive where others fail. I want to know why. What drives you to risk everything for peace?" Leora paused, considering her words. "Because life matters. Every being has value, every action counts. Strength alone cannot build trust or lasting stability. We have seen civilizations destroyed because they relied on force alone. Humans survive because we adapt, learn, and care about one another. That is our strength." For the first time, the king did not respond immediately. He looked out over the settlement, observing humans and aliens working together, repairing damaged buildings, sharing knowledge, and even laughing. The scene was unusual, unfamiliar, and perhaps even inspiring. Leora realized that the king was not testing her for battle. He was testing her understanding of the galaxy, of life, and of humanity. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "You have achieved what many have tried and failed," he said. You have made enemies cooperate, avoided unnecessary death, and shown courage in the heart of danger. Tell me, human, is your species truly capable of more than survival? Leora smiled, slightly confident but humble. We are capable of learning, adapting, and creating opportunities for peace. We may be small in the galaxy, but we believe in possibility. The king's gaze softened, though his presence remained imposing. You have made me curious, he admitted. I have never encountered a being so willing to act for others without seeking reward. If your words and actions are sincere, perhaps there is merit in observing your species more closely. I may not fully understand you, but I wish to see what humans can teach the galaxy. As he turned to leave, he addressed the settlement one final time. This human has opened a path that no king, general, or fleet could have achieved alone. Observe her, learn from her, and consider what you have accomplished together. Perhaps there is more to life than conquest. The king departed, leaving silence in his wake. The aliens stared in awe, whispers of disbelief spreading through the crowd. Humans exchanged glances, a mix of relief and excitement in their eyes. Leora stood quietly, knowing that the king's visit was more than an honor. It was a challenge. His curiosity meant that humans now carried responsibility, not only to maintain peace within the settlement, but to show the galaxy what was possible. That night, as stars shimmered over Vera Prime, Leora walked among the aliens. She noticed subtle changes. Aliens who had been distant now approached with questions, conversations flowed more freely, and the atmosphere felt lighter. The alien king's acknowledgement, though brief, had shifted perceptions. Humans were no longer merely outsiders. They were respected as mediators, as innovators, and as catalysts for change. Leora knew the road ahead would not be easy. The galaxy remained full of danger, old grudges and unknown threats. Yet, with courage, intelligence, and patience, she believed humans could continue to bridge gaps, inspire trust, and guide civilizations toward a future where peace was possible. The alien king had seen their potential. Now it was up to them to prove that his curiosity was well placed. After the alien king's visit, the settlement on Vera Prime experienced a quiet but powerful change. Aliens and humans worked together with more trust than ever before. The success of the previous missions and the king's acknowledgement had created a sense of hope, but it was fragile. Leora knew that hope alone would not guarantee lasting peace. It needed structure, planning, and the courage to face difficult conversations. She proposed a summit, a gathering of representatives from every major alien faction involved in the conflicts, to create a formal peace agreement. The idea was met with mixed reactions. Some leaders were cautious, fearing treachery or trickery. Others were skeptical, believing that humans could mediate only temporary compromises, not real change. Leora reminded them of the recent successes, the settlement functioning without violence, the saved outpost, and the small but meaningful gestures of cooperation. Slowly, the alien leaders agreed, understanding that the summit was not just an experiment, it was a necessity. Preparations for the summit were intense. Messages were sent across star systems, travel arrangements made, and security coordinated. Humans and aliens worked side by side to ensure fairness and transparency. The settlement transformed into a temporary hub of diplomacy. Buildings were repaired, communication networks strengthened, and neutral spaces were created for meetings. Every detail mattered, and Leora oversaw each one carefully, aware that a single mistake could ignite suspicion or anger. When the delegates arrived, tension filled the air. Aliens who had fought for generations now found themselves in the same space, observing each other warily. Some refused to speak at first, preferring to sit silently and watch. Leora understood their hesitation. It was natural after centuries of mistrust. She moved among them, not as a commander but as a facilitator. She listened to their concerns, translated between cultures, and helped them understand that their actions today would determine the future of countless civilizations. The first sessions of the summit were slow. Every point was debated fiercely. Minor disagreements threatened to derail discussions, yet Leora encouraged patience. She reminded delegates that compromise was not weakness but strength. Humans demonstrated practical solutions, combining ideas from multiple species to solve logistical and cultural challenges. Slowly, walls of suspicion began to crumble. Delegates who had refused to speak to one another now engaged in dialogue, testing ideas and negotiating compromises. Small acts of humanity had an unexpected effect. Humans shared meals with alien delegates, demonstrated their customs, and offered assistance with language and cultural differences. These gestures, seemingly simple, carried profound meaning. Aliens began to realize that trust could be built through small actions, not just grand declarations. A shared laugh over a human game, or a human helping repair an alien device, communicated more than words could. Midway through the summit, a crisis threatened to undo the progress. A miscommunication led one faction to believe that another had sabotaged their supply lines. Tension rose sharply and angry voices filled the chambers. Leora acted immediately. She convened a meeting with the involved parties, carefully clarifying the misunderstanding. She encouraged both sides to share their perspective without accusation. Slowly, the truth emerged. There had been no sabotage, only an error in communication. Relief washed over the room, and delegates realized how easily misjudgment could spark war. The incident reinforced the need for clarity, dialogue, and human mediation. By the final day, a tentative agreement was reached. Delegates agreed to several key principles: no attacks on inhabited worlds, the establishment of a shared council to resolve disputes, and a commitment to mutual learning and cultural exchange. While not all points were perfect, every participant acknowledged that this was a historic step. They had come together despite centuries of hatred and mistrust, guided by a human who had shown them a new path. As the summit ended, delegates departed with cautious optimism. Leora watched the ships leave, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. She knew that challenges would continue to arise and the galaxy was still far from completely peaceful. Yet, for the first time, there was a framework for cooperation, a path toward lasting stability. Humans had not only survived among aliens, they had led them toward something greater. That evening, Leora walked through the settlement, observing the interactions of those who remained. Aliens from rival factions shared meals, repaired ships together, and exchanged stories. She noticed that their gestures of trust had become natural, not forced. The summit had done more than create a formal agreement. It had built a foundation for genuine connection, demonstrating that dialogue and collaboration could succeed where fear and aggression had failed. As Vera Prime's twin suns set, casting a warm glow over the settlement, Leora reflected on what had been achieved. The summit was a beginning, not an end. Humans were no longer outsiders. They had become mediators, innovators, and symbols of possibility. Through patience, courage, and empathy, they had shown the galaxy that even the smallest acts could spark monumental change. Peace was fragile, but it existed. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy could believe in a future shaped by understanding rather than destruction. Months passed since the historic summit, and the fragile peace established on Vera Prime began to grow stronger. Humans and aliens continued to live and work together, sharing knowledge, repairing damaged cities, and learning from one another. The settlement had become a symbol of what cooperation could achieve, and Leora found herself busier than ever, guiding both species through challenges that arose in everyday life. Then, one morning, a mysterious shipment arrived at the United Earth Embassy, carried by a fleet from the Vorathian Empire. The container was small, yet it radiated a strange energy that immediately drew attention. Scientists, diplomats, and security personnel gathered around, all curious and cautious. The markings on the container were unfamiliar, an intricate language no human had ever seen. Yet they carried an undeniable aura of significance. Leora was called to inspect it first. As she approached, she felt a strange mix of excitement and reverence. The alien king himself had sent this. Every person in the room watched her, their faces reflecting hope, curiosity, and disbelief. Slowly, Leora opened the container, revealing a glowing orb of unknown material. It shimmered softly, pulsating with light, and seemed almost alive. No one could explain what it was, how it worked, or what purpose it served. The scientists immediately attempted to analyze it, scanning it for energy sources, chemical composition, and possible technology. Alien experts examined it as well, but the material did not match anything known in any civilization. Every test failed to uncover its origin or function. Yet the orb emitted a sense of calm, almost like it carried the presence of the alien king himself. It was not threatening but powerful, inspiring both awe and deep curiosity. Leora stood silently, realizing the significance. This was more than a gift. The alien king had chosen to trust humanity in a way no other species had. The orb represented acknowledgement, respect, and a promise. He had seen what humans had accomplished on Vera Prime and wanted to honor it, not with words but with an offering that transcended understanding. It was a symbol that humanity had changed the course of events in ways no one could have predicted. Word of the gift spread quickly through the settlement and beyond. Alien leaders who had previously doubted humans now regarded them with newfound respect. The orb became a focal point for discussion, not just because of its mystery, but because it represented something far greater: the ability of humans to influence the galaxy with courage, intelligence, and empathy. Conversations shifted from skepticism to admiration. Even the most cynical alien factions began to acknowledge that humans could bring positive change in a universe ruled by fear and conflict. Leora held a private meeting with the settlement's leaders that evening. She explained her interpretation. This gift is not just a symbol. It is a reminder that our actions matter. The alien king is recognizing our ability to build bridges, prevent war, and inspire cooperation. We may not yet understand the orb's purpose, but we understand what it represents. It is trust, respect, and hope. The alien leaders nodded, visibly moved. Some admitted they had never imagined humans capable of such influence. Others, with cautious smiles, suggested that the orb should be kept as a shared symbol, not just for humans but for all species in the settlement. It was decided to place it in the center of the settlement, where everyone could see it and remember the lessons of cooperation, patience, and courage. Over the next weeks, the orb had a subtle effect. Delegates from other star systems visited, curious about its origin and significance. Each visitor left with the same understanding: humans were no longer outsiders. They were leaders not through force or domination but through example. Leora continued her work, guiding discussions, mediating disputes, and teaching others that progress often came from patience, empathy, and understanding. Even children noticed the orb's presence. Alien and human youngsters gathered near it to play, study, and imagine the future. They spoke of dreams where their worlds were united, no longer divided by fear or hatred. Leora watched them and realized that the true power of the gift was not in its unknown technology, but in its ability to inspire hope and belief. It reminded everyone that humans had made a difference and that their efforts could echo for generations. That night, as the twin suns of Vera Prime set, Leora stood beside the orb. Its gentle glow reflected in her eyes. She understood that this was more than recognition. It was a responsibility. Humanity had earned the trust of one of the galaxy's most powerful rulers, and with it came the duty to continue building understanding, preventing conflict, and guiding civilizations toward cooperation. The alien king's gift was no ordinary object. It was a challenge and an honor combined, a reminder that even one human could alter the course of the galaxy. For the first time, Leora felt the full weight of human influence. It was a force not of weapons or armies, but of courage, empathy, and hope. The orb shone quietly, a beacon of possibility in a galaxy that had once known only war, and in that light she saw the future clearly. Humans were no longer observers, they were leaders, and the galaxy would never be the same. Years had passed since the alien king sent the mysterious gift. The settlement on Vera Prime had grown into a thriving hub of cooperation. Humans and aliens worked, studied, and lived together in a way that no one had imagined possible. The peace that had once seemed fragile was now stable, though always requiring care and attention. Leora Dane had grown older, her experiences shaping her into a legend among both humans and aliens. Yet she remained humble, always focused on the work still ahead. Humanity had earned a place in the Intergalactic Council, a governing body where representatives from countless civilizations came together to resolve disputes, share knowledge, and guide the galaxy toward stability. Humans were often called upon as mediators, not because they were the strongest, but because they had proven themselves capable of seeing beyond fear and pride. Leora watched with quiet pride as a new generation of human diplomats learned the art of negotiation, patience, and collaboration. The alien king remained a subtle but steady presence in galactic affairs. Though he rarely intervened directly, his acknowledgement of humanity continued to influence alien leaders. Leora had corresponded with him several times, each message filled with discussions on diplomacy, exploration, and ethical leadership. The king's faith in humans inspired others to reconsider old prejudices and embrace the idea that cooperation, rather than dominance, could guide the galaxy toward a better future. One day, Leora received news of a potential conflict on a distant world. A new species previously isolated from the galaxy had begun territorial disputes with neighboring systems. The humans and alien allies had the chance to intervene early, preventing a war before it could escalate. Leora assembled a team of diplomats, scientists, and mediators, a mix of humans and aliens, and prepared to travel. This mission was not about showing strength. It was about applying the lessons learned over decades: patience, empathy, and the courage to act for the greater good. As the team arrived, Leora observed the initial tension. The alien species were proud and wary, unfamiliar with outsiders but open enough to hear reason. Humans approached cautiously, asking questions and listening carefully. Leora guided the discussions, ensuring that each side felt heard. Slowly, walls of suspicion began to fall. Representatives from both sides realized that cooperation was not weakness, and that compromise could protect their people and resources. Throughout the discussions, Leora reflected on how far humanity had come. Once outsiders, humans were now respected as leaders and peacemakers. Their influence was not based on fear, power, or technology alone, but on the ability to inspire understanding and trust. Each small action, a shared meal, a gesture of kindness, a willingness to listen, had built a foundation stronger than any weapon. The negotiations concluded successfully. The new species agreed to shared territory agreements, trade partnerships, and ongoing diplomatic relations. Leora watched as humans and aliens celebrated together, knowing that the ripple effects of this peace would spread far beyond the immediate planets. It was another step in a larger journey, one that humanity had helped chart. Back at the settlement on Vera Prime, the glowing orb sent by the alien king continued to shine in the center of the plaza. It had become more than a gift. It was a symbol. Children, both human and alien, played near it, curious about its origin and inspired by its significance. Scholars studied it not for its material, but for what it represented: the recognition that one species had changed the galaxy through courage, wisdom, and compassion. Leora walked among the children, smiling quietly. She understood that the true impact of humanity's work would be measured not only in treaties and councils, but in the values passed down to the next generation. These children would grow up knowing that peace was possible, that collaboration was powerful, and that one individual, one human, could make a difference. That evening, under the twin suns of Vera Prime, Leora stood beside the orb, reflecting on her journey. The galaxy had changed dramatically since her first arrival. Where once there had been war and fear, there was dialogue, trust, and hope. Humans had proven that courage and empathy could rival the greatest technologies and the strongest fleets. The alien king's gift had been more than a recognition. It had been a reminder of responsibility, a call to continue leading with wisdom and heart. As night fell and stars twinkled across the sky, Leora felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Humans were no longer observers in the galaxy. They were leaders, builders of bridges, and symbols of possibility. The challenges ahead would be many, but humanity had shown that with patience, understanding, and courage, even the greatest obstacles could be overcome. And so, the galaxy entered a new era, one where humans and aliens worked together, where peace was nurtured, and where hope shone brighter than any weapon. Leora knew that the future was in capable hands, and that humanity's role as mediators, innovators, and beacons of courage would shape generations to come. In that quiet moment, with the orb glowing softly beside her, she realized that the greatest gift of all was not the recognition from the alien king, but the proof that even one human could change the fate of the galaxy and inspire countless others to follow.